I didn't get what I prayed for, but I got exactly what I needed. Today, I want to talk about a part of our lives that people have a lot of questions about. So, I am from Southern California and currently I live in Atlanta, Georgia. And so people will ask me, why did how did you end up in Georgia? Did you guys have a plan, plans to move to the South? And we get these questions about that. And so today I want to talk about how we ended up in Georgia and how God answered my prayer, not the way that I wanted to, but that answer to our prayer landed us here in Georgia. So, as I have shared before, our son, I was pregnant with twins, and the boys had some health challenges. One of my sons had a lot more health challenges than the other. He was in renal failure, and so we went to several different hospitals, and ultimately once he came home from the NICU, we still had to continue dialysis treatment because his kidneys were not working. He was still in stage 4 renal failure. So once he came home, my husband and I were both working full time. I had already gone, obviously, my son was 9 months when he left the NICU, and so I was back at work. We both need to work. We have 3 children, all of these medical, bills and all of those things. We needed to work. But there came a point where, we're both juggling work. At the time, my husband was working a lot of hours. I had more flexibility and was working from home. But I got to the point where I just thought, like, I cannot do this. This is way too much. We need to figure something out. And as you know, California is a very expensive place to live. And most of the time, you need 2 working people. If you want to own a house or anything like that, both people have to work in order to create the life that you want. So, with that in mind, I was just starting to feel really overwhelmed, and I knew that, hey, I have these 2 boys and they need so much care. They need to go to physical therapy. There are just so many services and so much more that they were going to need from us. And I didn't see how we would do that if we were both working. How would we show up for my son who was still on dialysis? How would we show up for my other son who also, had some delays and needed extra support? And so I had all this in my mind, and I just knew, like, God, like, something else needs to change. Like, we need to figure out some other way that we can be more present with our children and really give them what they need in these first 5 years. So my prayer was answered, and I got a phone call from a coworker who worked across the country in the South in Georgia, and there was an opportunity for me to apply for a job that was in Atlanta, Georgia. And at the time when my coworker called me, I'm thinking, he must know that I live in California. We've got all of these health challenges with my son, and he's already connected to his doctors and all the medical professionals here. How are we possibly going to move across the country? And so I got that call, and I'm just in my mind thinking, okay, how is this going to happen? Like, is this really a great opportunity? But as I thought about it more, I'm like, oh my gosh, cost of living is lower. One of us could stay home and, give our son what he needs. And so ultimately, although the idea was not, it wasn't anywhere in our minds to leave California because our entire family is there. But the more and more we thought about it, we're like, oh my gosh, this would be amazing. Like, lower cost of living. We can sell our home. We can find another home. And so just our wheels started turning. And ultimately, we ended up moving from California to Georgia. And it was exactly what we needed. The environment was great. Just the weather and nature. And really, we were able to show up much better for our children and give them more of what they need, with one of us being able to stay home due to cost of living with our children and be more present with them. So I say all this to say, you never know how your prayer is going to be answered, and sometimes it comes in the oddest ways. And for us, this is what it was. I knew that living in California that whole life, it was not going to work for us. And so although I would have liked maybe my prayer to be answered in some other way, but a door opened, an opportunity came that looked very out of the box, but it was so perfect. And I can't imagine weathering these past 4 years, which it'll be 4 years, This actually in a couple days that we've lived here in Georgia, and I can't imagine weathering these past 4 years, which have been extremely difficult in California. But we're here in Georgia. We're exactly where we needed to be at the right time. So just as an encouragement, if you're praying or believing something, be open to the possibilities of how your prayer could be answered. And mind you, I could have said no. We could have said no. We don't want to come. This isn't going to work for our family. And maybe something else would have opened up. But saying yes and being open to something that was sort of out of the box and not what we expected has literally been the greatest thing for our family and given us exactly what we've needed throughout this time. So I'll leave you with this. Be encouraged. You never know how your prayer may be answered. Be open to all of the possibilities. So have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.